Hey guys, Bubba here with the Bubba News, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? It is now April 29th. Goodness gracious, we're almost to May. Oh, you guys saw the video last night. May will be nuts. But yeah, it's 11:45 tonight here. And I'm going to talk about peace in the Middle East. There's some big things that came out today with the United Nations and whatnot, and other countries that are joining in. So that's what this video is going to be about tonight, and I'll try to keep it short, maybe 20 minutes or so, and I probably won't even, I'll just premiere it and just get it up, because it's getting late. Oh, goodness gracious. Busy day. Vendog earlier today, and then Pastor Kurt Reed, looking like we're going to get together on his show there, YouTube on Thursday. So that will be a lot of fun. So, yeah, but you know what? Peace in the Middle East. That's what, a bunch of stuff came out today. The United Nations chief urges action for a two-state solution. And guys, we are going to start hearing about this more and more and more as we go into May. Even the UN Secretary General Guterres, he called on nations to take irreversible steps towards a two-state solution before June's France and Saudi co-hosted conference. He said, act now before it's too late. And we're going to get into the news here in a second relating to that, but he went on to say the world cannot afford to watch the two-state solution disappear. His call is to all the United Nations member countries to take irreversible action. In other words, it cannot be undone, towards implementing, which means putting into place, a two-state solution. Guys, this is going to get really nuts as we go into May, seriously, because they are going to start talking more and more about peace in the Middle East, but I believe we're going to continue to hear about wars and talking about wars with India and Pakistan. Don't be surprised if it doesn't kick off in 24 hours by Wednesday night. It's possible. It's very possible. Let's put it that way. But for those of you who watched the video last night, I want to start off with this guy again, because remember Mahmoud Abbas there on the right? Well, his new vice president there, who he named Hussein al-Sheikh, he's going to make his first visit to Saudi Arabia. This is wild. I mean, everything is moving into place for what's coming. And the replacement for Mahmoud Abbas, Hussein al-Sheikh, will meet next week with top Saudi officials in preparation for Trump's high-stake trip to the Middle East region, May 13th through the 16th. And this has everything to do with the new state of Palestine coming. The Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas's newly appointed deputy, Hussein al-Sheikh, this is his, when he makes this meeting next week, this is actually showing Saudi Arabia, and they're demonstrating a recognition of the key role that Saudi Arabia can play in the Palestinian Authority's effort to become relevant on the international stage, where it's been overshadowed by Hamas after the October 7th attacks. But you know what? Trump's going to be making his first visit to the region since returning to the White House. The week after this guy on the left, Hussein al-Sheikh's trip to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So Trump's going to be there in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, May 13th through the 16th. And he's supposed to be in the countries the 13th, 15th, and 16th. But here's my question on the 14th, because that's Israel's 77th birthday. Will Trump visit Israel or not? That's going to be a big one. But Trump's going to travel to Saudi Arabia, but there's currently no plan for Trump to visit Israel as of now. So the trip that Trump is going to take is being seen as a watershed moment, because Trump's hoping to announce breakthroughs in efforts to reach a ceasefire and a hostage release deal in Gaza. But keep in mind, this is a prerequisite for a Saudi-Israel normalization deal that Trump is seeking to broker as well, along with, of course, the agreement with Iran to cut their nuclear program. So this is what's coming up. But sometimes we need to just be still and know that Yahweh is still God. Be still and know that I am God. And I guess in the Hebrew, when you dig into it, it basically says, shut your mouth. God, guys, we can't even imagine. We just have to be quiet sometimes and just bask in God's presence, because no one fears the Lord anymore. I mean, this is the God of the universe. This is crazy, the way things are going. But we've got to be looking to him, the author and finisher of our faith, because everything is ramping up and everything is speeding up. Just like this next article, Saudi Arabia. Regional security requires speeding up. And it's just a solution to the Palestinian issue, because they really want to get this two-state solution moving towards accomplishment with Israel and other parties. It's all coming together. Today, the Saudi Council of Ministers stressed that for the security of the Middle East region, this requires speeding up a just and comprehensive peace solution to the Palestinian issue. This is in accordance with the resolutions of international legitimacy and the Arab Peace Initiative, which is the establishment of an independent state of Palestine on the June 4th, 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as the capital of the new state of Palestine. Yesterday, Monday, Starmer, whatever his name is there in the UK, met with one of the top dudes there from the Palestinian Authority. But today, at the United Nations, the Security Council, the UK went on the record saying, you know what, we're basically going to join France when France announces their understanding, and they announced the establishment of a state of Palestine. So the United Kingdom is going to join these forces. There's only a couple countries that still do not consider Palestine to be a new state coming, but they're all starting to change. This whole thing with Zechariah 12:3, all the nations of the earth will be gathered against Israel. They'll be meddling, like at the UN, because, you know, while the Saudi Arabia is continuing to discuss the coming peace and two-state solution, so does the United Nations, because even today, the UN Security Council had a meeting on the Middle East, and statements were given, including this one by the UK. Here's what they said. The UK believes that lasting peace and security can only be achieved through a two-state solution. And we thank France and Saudi Arabia for their leadership in preparing for the conference in June. We should build on the Arab plan for Gaza's future and develop credible security and governance plans acceptable to both Israelis and Palestinians. Hamas must no longer govern Gaza. This is one of the main points for this two-state solution that Israel will agree to. If Hamas is no longer part of governing Gaza, or if Hamas poses no more threat to Israel, that's what they all want. And this is what Israel wants. Israel will be willing to sign a multi-year agreement only if Hamas is out of the way. Until then, they're like, nope. So, you know, this is going to be central to the future state as more and more of these countries go with the Palestinian state and their cause. The UK finishes and they say, finally, we must seize the opportunity to build lasting peace across the region. But they're not the only ones. So I said this, these are just headlines from today. This one, this one, this one. This is, and I said, what is this, Peace Day? Because France today at the UN Security Council continues to charge forward with the two-state solution at the United Nations as well. This guy right here, the French foreign minister, he's on a Middle East peace tour. And he's going to all these countries before the June 2nd through the 4th conference at the United Nations in New York City. So the French foreign minister today said, along with Saudi Arabia, France will organize in June here in New York City an international conference on the implementation of the two-state solution. They want to implement it. They want to put it into power. They want it to get it done. He said, our objective is clear: to make progress on the recognition of Palestine and the normalization of relations with Israel at the same time. Because a lot of countries, including Iraq, do not have any relations with Israel. They do not recognize the state of Israel, but they do recognize the state of Palestine. And he said, this is how we will be able to guarantee Israel's security and its regional integration while responding to the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinians to have their own state. He continued, this roadmap for the effective implementation of the two-state solution also involves disarming Hamas, defining a credible government structure from which it will be excluded, and the reform of the Palestinian Authority. He finalized it off by saying the UN and its agencies must play their full role in this matter. They're saying the exact same thing the UK boy was saying. Well, guess who else jumps on board? The Director General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. Because the UN now is doubling down on the two-state solution. The UN Security Council, of course, met today on the situation in the Middle East, and Secretary General Antonio Guterres told ambassadors of the United Nations that irreversible action must be taken to finally put a two-state solution into place for Israel and Palestine. The UN Security General Guterres warned that the two-state solution is near a point of no return, urging all, just like Zechariah 12 verse 3, read it when it says all. Antonio Guterres says all member states to take irreversible steps to implement this in June. Antonio Guterres emphasized peace in the Middle East hinges on a future where Israel and Palestine living side by side with Jerusalem as the capital of both states. You know, Israelis and Palestinians living in peace and security. This is what he's saying. You know, where have we read this before? Oh, yeah. 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 2 to 3, after 1 Thessalonians 4, 17. For you, talking to the brethren, you yourselves know full well that the day of the Lord will come upon them, basically, like a thief in the night, while they are saying peace and safety or security, then destruction will come upon them suddenly, like labor pains upon a woman with child, and they will not escape. The two-state solution is coming. The peace plan is coming. But guess who's coming first for his bride? Jesus. We are getting so much closer every single day now. Here's Antonio Guterres today talking at the United Nations.
Today, the promise of a two-state solution is at risk of dwindling to the point of disappearance. The rights of both Israelis and Palestinians to live in peace and security have been undermined, and the legitimate national aspirations of the Palestinians have been denied, while they endure Israel's continued presence that the International Court of Justice has found unlawful. And since the horrific 7 October terror attacks by Hamas, it has gotten worse on every front. We need the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and we need a permanent ceasefire.
Did you notice that as well? That is the first time I believe he's mentioned October 7th and Hamas in one of these speeches. So something is changing, because the United Nations has yet to condemn Hamas for October 7th. I mean, it's crazy. But this is I should have put the website up. But anyway, this is the background to what's coming. Because the United Nations has scheduled a high-level conference on the two-state solution to take place June 2nd through the 4th in New York City. The main aim of the conference is to obtain recognition of a Palestinian state from UN member states. This will allow the Palestinians to circumvent the Oslo Accords. And that's the treaty that governs their relationship with Israel currently. Talk about tricky. But the Oslo Accords obligates them to negotiate final status issues with Israel, including borders. And this is a prerequisite for a Palestinian statehood. And the conference is going to be called the High-Level International Conference for the Peaceful Settlement of the Question of Palestine and the Implementation of the Two-State Solution. And this is going to take place in June 2025 in New York. And it will be co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia, and is open to participation by all UN member states and observers, as well as UN entities. The Secretary General Guterres and the United Nations General Assembly President are encouraged to give the highest visibility to this conference. Listen to these key wordings here. The conference will adopt an action action-oriented outcome document. Action-oriented outcome document. That sounds a lot like an accord or a treaty or a plan. And if they throw in 7 years onto this, wow. The purpose of which is to, quote unquote, urgently chart an irreversible pathway towards the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and to implement the two-state solution. And we're about ready to wrap up, but I had to repost this tonight for this video. But this was back September 28th, 2024, when the clock was set into motion to have a two-state solution and peace plan implemented in 1 year, from September 28, 2024. The United Nations meets this year, September 23 through September 26, 2025, 1 year later. They basically told us their global plans. The Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, Ayman Safadi of Jordan, spoke in a joint press statement held by the Islamic Ministerial Committee, saying, "We are members of the Muslim Arab Committee mandated by 57 Arab and Muslim countries, and I can tell you unequivocally that all of us are willing right now to guarantee the security of Israel in the context of Israel ending the occupation and allowing for the emergence of a Palestinian state." He said, "We have a plan, but we have no partner for peace in Israel." That was on September 28, 2024. He continued and finalized by saying there is a partner for peace in the Arab world, and that's why the international community needs to move. Here's his speech. It's a minute and a half, and then we'll wrap it up.
Let me add one sentence. The Israeli Prime Minister came here today and said that Israel is surrounded by those who want to destroy it, an enemy. We're here, members of a Muslim Arab Committee mandated by 57 Arab and Muslim countries. And I can tell you here, very unequivocally, all of us are willing to, right now, guarantee the security of Israel in the context of Israel ending the occupation and allowing for the emergence of a Palestinian state, independent state, along the efforts that we all agree. He is creating that danger because he simply does not want the two-state solution. And if he does not want the two-state solution, can you ask the Israeli officials, what is their end game? Other than just wars and wars and wars. I'm telling you, all of us in the Arab world here, we want a peace in which Israel lives in peace and security, accepted, normalized with all Arab countries in the context of ending the occupation, withdrawing from Arab territory, allowing for the emergence of an independent, sovereign Palestinian state on June 4, 1967, lines with occupied Jerusalem as capital. That is our narrative. That is, and we will guarantee Israel's security in that context. Can you ask Israelis what's their narrative other than I'm going to continue to go to war, I'm going to kill this and kill that and destroy this and this that? The amount of damage that Israeli government has done, 30 years of efforts to convince people that peace is possible, this Israeli government killed it. The amount of dehumanization, hatred, bitterness will take generations to navigate through. So ultimately the question is, we want peace. And we've laid out a plan for peace. Ask any Israeli official, what is their plan for peace? You'll get nothing because they're only thinking of the first step. We're going to go destroy Gaza, inflame the West Bank, destroy Lebanon. And after that, they have no plan. We have a plan. We have no partner for peace in Israel. There is a partner for peace in the Arab world. And that's why the international community needs to move.
Isn't that wild? You know, this totally reminds me of Zechariah 12:3. It will come about in that day. What day? This day that this happens, that I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the peoples. Listening to this guy talk, the foreign minister there of Jordan, I mean, you can tell that they all feel like Israel is a pain in their rear end. I mean, all who lift it will be severely injured, and all the nations of the earth will be gathered against it. More and more and more of these nations are coming against Israel because they want a two-state solution. They want to get this done. They want to have their Middle East peace plan. They want this to lead to their utopia so that they can finally have their peace in the Middle East. And you're going to have the global world leader who's going to show up on scene to lead this all into destruction. Just like 1 Thessalonians 5:3 there. I mean, everything is coming together, guys. everything. Everything is coming together. For you yourselves know full well that the day of the Lord will come upon them like a thief in the night, when they are saying peace and safety or security. Then sudden destruction will come upon them like a woman in labor pains with child, and they will not escape. Guys, this is going to get crazy, because as wars continue to ramp up with everything going on, it's almost like the calm in the storm. Like they want this to be like, yes, let's get this peace. Let's get this new leader. Let's get all these things happening. And France is totally reversing the whole thing, saying, you know what, Israel, we tell you what, if you allow Palestine to have a state, and we will recognize them as their state, then we will get, on your behalf, Israel, to get all these Arab nations that don't recognize you as a state to now normalize with you, Israel. And they will now recognize you as having a state. It sounds dirty because it is. And what's coming is Isaiah 28:15, I believe it is. It's a pact with Sheol in the Hades. But we know it's still coming up with Daniel 9:27. But, you know, the whole thing with Antonio Guterres today is this whole thing with peace in the Middle East is going to stop. And we've got to take action now to take irreversible steps towards a two-state solution before June's conference. Act now before it's too late. And guys, if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, it's time to get right with him now, because the day is coming when it will be too late. But they still want this peace in the Middle East. It's prophesied. It's coming. The question is, are you ready? All right, guys, I'm going to end it, and let's get it uploaded. But you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your prayers. One day at a time. We're just taking it one day at a time. But yeah, guys, it's going to get crazy. I don't think any of us really understand yet. I was talking to Pastor Kurt Reed tonight about that. I don't think the believers really know what's going on. Some of us do, but I don't think even me or you really get what's going to come. Because I think when this stuff starts kicking off and these wars start kicking off and this closed door meetings with peace behind, it's just going to get nutty, Professor. May well be nuts, but will there be peace in the Middle East? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Maranatha. Jesus Christ is coming soon.